most people eat, they eat at least twice the amount of protein they need. And a high protein diet does a few things in the body, but one of the primary things it does is it forces more calcium out in your urine. So you pee out more calcium. So you need more calcium in your diet if you're doing a lot of extra protein in your diet. So lower the protein, it'll lower the calcium needs for you also. So there are 5 food groups. Okay, so you know, society recognizes 5 food groups. Of those 5 food groups, most people, what food group, 2 food groups you think most people don't eat enough from?
Fruit. Vegetables.
Actually, vegetables is one. Fruit, usually not. Usually people do a little bit better with fruit than vegetables because they usually taste sweeter. So people,
Dairy.
yeah, dairy is the second group, you know. But you know that dairy group, we could probably debate whether it should be in our diet or shouldn't be in our diet. But really, the vegetable group of all the food groups, if you start looking at vegetables, they're the lowest in calories. You know, so when you look at the typical American plate, or if you go out to a restaurant and you order a fish meal or a chicken meal or whatever you order, okay, usually that serving size of the protein food is a little usually out of balance, right? I mean, we look at, you know, the portion size of it, and it's 6 ounces, it's 9 ounces, it's 12 ounces. Most adults probably need between 3 and 7 ounces of protein food a day. You know, most Americans are eating 10 to 16. So way too much of the protein food, because you look for the vegetables on the plate, they're usually tucked away in the corner somewhere. You know, there's a small serving of vegetables there, and they're usually loaded with butter or cheese sauce anyway. So you take broccoli, 25 calories, and you put a cheese sauce on it. Cheese is high in what?
Fat.
In fat. Okay, fat. And by the way, cheese is extremely high in sodium. So if you have high blood pressure, this food right here is a killer. It's a killer. This has 400 milligrams of sodium. Oh, is that a lot? How much sodium should you eat every day?
At least don't go over 1,500.
Yeah, don't go over 1,500. Yeah, if you're over 50, probably less than 1,500 milligrams a day. All right, I'm going to talk about sodium a little bit later.
Grams is that one slide?
400.
And how much do we need?
1,500. If you're over 50, you should be eating less than. The body probably requires about 500. The American government says don't consume more than 1,500 to 2,300 milligrams. That's kind of the recommendations that are out there. But you need to consume less, especially this food here, very, very high in sodium. Yes, Dave?
How much is a teaspoon of salt?
2,300 milligrams.
Goodness.
Okay, but you know, you can't tell people eat a teaspoon of salt a day, because how are you going to pull the salt out of your food? You don't know what's in there. You don't know how much sodium is in. Like this might have 25 milligrams of sodium. Natural sodium. That's what's in there. 25 milligrams of natural sodium. We're going to come back to sodium, okay? I was just kind of using this to illustrate. This is high fat, though. So you got to be careful because of the fat. Yes?
I'd like to ask you a question. You know, if you have a grilled cheese sandwich,
Yeah. With 2 slices of cheese.
well, with 2, maybe 3.
Oh,
All right?
Oh, yes. Grilled
you're
cheese
done for the
sandwich.
day, please.
Uh-huh.
Grilled cheese
That's 3
sandwich.
days. That's 3 days of sodium, man.
Yeah, grilled cheese sandwich, and then you have to have butter on that. You're gonna use white bread. What do you?
So usually a slice of white bread, maybe 125, 150 milligrams of sodium.
Two
That's
slices.
a
of white
comfort
bread.
So
right there.
let's say, call it 250. 250 from the bread,
Yeah.
800 to 1,200 from the cheese. We're going to have blood pressure problems.
Butter, whatever's on there.
Yeah.
And you get some-
If you have high blood pressure, excess sodium will aggravate high blood pressure, because wherever sodium goes, water follows. You eat a high sodium meal, you get thirsty, right? The body's going to retain more of that. Now you have more volume in your blood vessels, and there's more to pump through there. It's going to increase the pressure on the inside of your blood vessels. Okay, if you look at foods, okay, we're on sodium. I got everybody's attention for some reason. So let's talk about sodium. I was going to talk about it a little later. Let's talk about it now. So, go ahead, Gene.
In sodium, salt, cooking your food. Putting the salt in the food while it's cooking, or putting the salt on the food after it's cooked and you eat it.
Which is better?
I've always heard it's better to cook the salt in the food and not put it on the food after it's cooked and eat it like that.
Okay, so I'll use an example. How about, everybody eat Chinese food? Yeah, kind of known to be high in salt, right?
Yes,
High in sodium. They put it in the cooking process. It's in there. Should I put more on top?
No.
Okay, no, I don't need to.
No.
It's already high in sodium. So whether you're cooking with it or putting it on after you eat, moderation and using less is what most people need. Yes, Pastor.
I think the concept is the salt kind of permeates the stuff, whereas you try to shake it on. The other thing is you measure a little more carefully when you're cooking than you're shaking
That's
it out
true.
of that shaker. You know.
That's true. But the taste for salt is an acquired taste. You weren't born with it. Okay, here, let me illustrate why. Let's talk about the food groups real quick. Let's go to the protein foods first, okay? What kind of protein foods did God give us? Beans. Okay, so, I happen to bring a bag of beans. You got your glasses on, Benny? How much sodium is in those garbanzos? Can you read, brother?
Yeah,
How much sodium is in there?
sodium.
25 milligrams? For how much?
Pound.
No, that's probably per serving. So a serving's probably like a quarter of a cup uncooked. So there's 25 milligrams of sodium naturally in the bean. The lentil's probably about 0. My brother's having a hard time reading this one. I don't blame him. It's small
Need
writing.
some carrots.
Tommy, how much sodium? How much sodium in there? He's got good
5.
eyes. 5. Okay, throw it back up there.
Should it be more than 5 in there?
5 milligrams of sodium in a serving of lentils.
Serving.
All right? So, naturally, the protein foods are very low in sodium. Even a serving of chicken has about 50 or 60, naturally. Okay? What happens is when you add the barbecue sauce or the soy sauce, shoots up to 300-400. You know, the sauce is what's going to do it. But not really, really high in sodium naturally. I already told you 25. And vegetables anywhere from 10 to 30 milligrams of sodium per serving, naturally. A piece of fruit, 0. 0, no salt. And grains, oats, wheat, barley, rice. I brought this box of shredded wheat just for this purpose. It says here, no sugar or salt added. So we know it's the natural wheat, right?
That's right.
Okay, so if I look at the box here, it says sodium, 0 milligrams. So that wheat that's growing in the field doesn't have sodium. All right, the oats. You pick up a container of oatmeal, and hopefully when I say oatmeal, what comes to your mind is the containers, the canister, not the boxes. Because the boxes will be anywhere from 100 milligrams to 300 milligrams per serving. But the old-fashioned oatmeal, 0 milligrams. So foods are naturally low in sodium. So if God created them naturally low in sodium, it's because we don't need a lot. We need some. So that's why when you use the salt, it should be in moderation. And if you have an acquired taste for salt, you can unlearn it. That's the good news. The good news is, once you get that taste for the food, you'll like the taste of the food better. And the way I like to illustrate that too is if I had 3 jars of peanuts here, regular peanuts, salted, lightly salted, or unsalted, which one would you go for? Unsalted, lightly. How many would go for the regular? I mean, you don't want to raise their hand and admit it now. So if you go for the regular, you probably have an acquired taste for salt. Even if you're heading for that lightly salted, you might still like that salt. The unsalted peanut has a good flavor. Almonds, unsalted. You know, so if you buy the unsalted nut and taste the taste of it, it tastes pretty good. But if you cover it up with the salt, all of a sudden now you're becoming used to that and you've accustomed yourself to eating that high salt. All right, so I kind of got sidetracked on sodium. We were talking about weight, and I mentioned the cheese because the cheese is a little higher in fat, so you need to be careful with that product in terms of weight control. But anyway, we're going to talk more about this. Let me move on. Heart disease risk factors. The ones in red are preventable. Okay, you can't do anything about your family history or your gender. Okay, you can't affect that. But those other things, you can affect these other things. All right, so those are preventable risk factors. Okay, what percentage of Americans are going to suffer from heart disease? What is the percentage again? 50%. Believe it or not, 75% of diabetics will suffer from heart disease. So if you have diabetes or know someone with diabetes, they have a 75% risk of developing heart disease. All right, we'll talk about that tomorrow night. So once again, bring the diabetics. Yes, Pastor.
One thing you didn't mention on the salt, it's important, and I had to get a doctor telling me this not long ago. When you eat salty food, you tend to eat more of it. That's why they salt popcorn and stuff. You eat more of it.
Uh-huh.
Is that
Okay.
right?
That may be true. That may
More
be true.
tasty.
That may be true. Yeah. And then you may grab for a beverage that may be high in calories too, right?
Right.
You know, give me the Kool-Aid or the sweet tea or the soda or whatever. Cholesterol. Let me just talk about cholesterol for a few minutes here. Cholesterol comes from two sources. There's two sources of cholesterol. Okay. Number one is some of the foods we eat have cholesterol. Number two is, and most people don't realize this. Anybody know the second source? Oh, look, he's right on it. He's right on it. The liver. The liver makes cholesterol. Okay. Well, why does the liver make cholesterol? If the liver makes it, that's a good indication the body needs it for something. Okay. Yes, cholesterol is part of your cell membranes. Every cell in your body, the outside membrane made up of cholesterol. So you need cholesterol. Okay. So when you hear that word cholesterol, it's usually in a negative connotation. Right? Heart disease, cholesterol, but you produce cholesterol in your liver, especially while you sleep at night. So people that take cholesterol-lowering medications, take them in the evening. Because what it does is it suppresses the liver while you sleep. It tells the liver, don't make so much cholesterol. And if anybody here know their cholesterol numbers?
I won't tell.
Yeah. Okay. So your bad cholesterol, let me just deal with that one. That's the LDL. That probably should be less than 100 for most people. The lower, the better. The LDL cholesterol is what contributes to this process right here. So the liver produces cholesterol, and after the liver makes it, it packages in this thing called LDL, low-density lipoprotein. That is a delivery truck. Whoops, I just went out. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're fine.
So the LDL cholesterol is a delivery truck that takes cholesterol from your liver out to your body where it's needed. What happens if you have too many delivery trucks, what happens is there's a little traffic jam, right? And basically the LDL goes to your cells and kind of knocks on the door and says, hey, I got a delivery of cholesterol here. And the cell says, oh, you're too late. Someone just came by and delivered it. So go next door. And he goes next door, cholesterol delivery, I'm good, I got mine. And if you have too much of those delivery trucks, it just kind of releases the cholesterol in your bloodstream, and it has a tendency to stick to your artery walls. And that causes this plaque buildup on the inside of your arteries. And just kind of extra credit here tonight, diabetics, their LDL cholesterols are smaller, and they tend to burrow into the artery wall easier. That's why they're at increased risk of heart disease. Yes.
Let me ask you a question. I know you said you're going to talk about diabetes tomorrow. Now, my cholesterol, the bad and the good, is both low.
Okay.
But my doctor said it's still a hazard to me.
Okay.
And wants me
Probably.
to take fish oil.
Okay. Probably because the good cholesterol, the HDL, those we want to be as high as possible because they're like garbage trucks. They come through here and pull some of this garbage out and take it back to the liver where it gets processed and passed out of the body. All right, so the HDL, if you know your HDL, that number, the higher the better. If it's in the 20s or 30s, that's not a good thing.
But see,
So-
both of mine, even the bad is low.
Yeah, so it's probably in the 20s or 30s, so that's his concern. You know, so your LDL probably should be even below 70 in some cases. All right. But if you have your numbers, if you want to bring them in, I can take a look at them for you, or Dr. Gonzalez can take a look at them. I really have to take a look at all the numbers to see where the risks are.
Wait,
Yes.
why would the doctor tell them to drink fish oil?
Yeah, that's...
Well, fish oil is high in omega-3 fatty acids, which tend to lower cholesterol.
It does.
It does. But walnuts are high in omega-3s too. So there are some vegetable sources of omega-3. So if you don't want to take fish oil, I mean flaxseed oil or ground flaxseed is another source. So there are some vegetable sources to get these omega-3s too.
But walnuts, you say, would also.
Yes.
lower.
But any nut, be careful with any nut because they're all high in fat. So don't go crazy eating all kinds of nuts because they are high fat too. So you have to eat those in moderation.
But let me ask you another, what about your dry peanuts? When you process them, dry them, do that take some of the oil out?
No.
It doesn't?
No, no. All right. All right, so cholesterol comes from your liver. It comes from some of the foods. So I always like to give a little quiz, and I have a slide here. And
Wait, can
which
I
of the,
add-
what's that?
Can I add one thing? He was talking about the peanuts.
Mhm.
One thing is when you heat that stuff up, when you roast them or whatever, you've changed the molecular structure of that fat in there. You know, so your fat is less damaging usually in your natural stuff than it is in the processed, isn't it?
Yeah, but peanuts, you can't eat peanuts raw because of the aflatoxins. You know, some nuts you can eat raw, but peanuts you can't.
Why shouldn't you?
Because there's some aflatoxins in there that can make you sick.
Well,
So you
some
usually don't
people-
eat raw.
Excuse me.
Yes.
What was that $6 word you just used?
Aflatoxins. They're called aflatoxins in the raw peanut.
My wife likes-
What is, I'm not sure, I can't give you the complete chemical
Now,
breakdown.
what does it do to your body?
So she's eating.
She likes-
I'm rusty, I don't remember.
Okay.
But just like with processing some other things, you don't have to heat those things up to 400 degrees. In other words, to kill that,
Right.
you only have to get it up to 160.
Right, right.
So you just get that temperature up there a little bit. You can just
Well,
lightly bake
it's the
those
same thing
things.
if you're cooking with oil at home and it smokes, you probably don't want to use that oil, because that does change the chemical
That's right.
composition of it.
Yeah.
You know, so if your oil's smoking, to get rid of it, start with something fresh.